Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar, and before we get into today's episode, I want to remind you that if you have the time, I would greatly appreciate a 5-star rating on your podcast app. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. Please click the like button and leave a comment. Please feel free to get in touch with me. You can use the email questions.btcpod@gmail.com. I would love to interact with you however that I can and answer any questions that you may have. Now, it's probably not so surprising that with everything that's going on and some of the topics that I've been discussing, that this is one of those Marcus needs a bit of a mental health break. So we are going to again have an opportunity for me to nerd out about one of my favorite video games and go over some things that I have learned from the video game Phantasy Star Online. It is one of my all-time favorite sci-fi fantasy games, and while I'm not all up on the lore and I haven't played all of the games, Phantasy Star Online is one of my favorites. I go to it all the time, and I love creating new characters. I like picking up old characters and then trying to make it further. And it's one of those that I get a lot of delight from. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about here, it ties into this game being a treasure hunter's nightmare and dream at the same time. And the first thing that I have learned is that even if the odds are stacked against you, that doesn't mean it's impossible. Now, things are going to get a little crunchy here as I explain this, because the premise of Sega when they were making this game is they wanted it, of course, to be an online game, hence the name Phantasy Star Online. So you could play with people online, interact with them, and they wanted there to be a dynamic of people being able to show up on missions or in lobbies and having these really unique and cool looking, powerful weapons, and have other people just be like, whoa, I haven't seen that one before, and just kind of drool over these items. And in order to make that happen, they stack the odds against us as the players. I have 2 examples of this. One, I did finally accomplish, and that's the first one we're going to talk about here. This being a property of Sega, a company in Japan, it's probably not a surprise to find out that a lot of the really good weapons are ones that resemble katanas, which are part of Japanese history. And so there is this weapon that you can pick up. It's called the Agito, and it is made by a person who is named Orochi Agito. And he made the original Agito, and then a lot of people try to copy it later. But to get the really good one means that you have to find the real one made by Orochi Agito. So that started a journey for me. I created a character that had a specific section ID, which is something they came up with for this game, that determines what it is that is more prominently dropped in the game for said character. There are 10 different section IDs. They're all based on colors, and they have their own unique symbol to them. And we're not going to go down into the weeds on that one. I'm going to be in the weeds enough, just kind of explaining this. So I created a character, and it was kind of intriguing to find out that just my name, Marcus, was a name that was able to give me the section ID that I needed in order to get this weapon. And me being as I am, the character Marcus was not the person I wanted to use this weapon. So I had to create a brand new character that specialized in these melee weapons, because the character Marcus was a robot, and he was a ranged fighter. He used rifles and pistols and all that kind of stuff. So, I started this journey. I created the character Marcus. I completed all of episode 1 on the normal difficulty. Then I completed it on the hard difficulty. Then I completed it on the very hard difficulty. All to get to the ultimate difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty in the game, in order to, 1, make it through the very first area of episode 1 on the ultimate difficulty, which was a nightmare in and of itself, in order to unlock the second area called the mines. Now, in the mines, there is this kind of plant flower-like enemy that can spit poison and stuff at you. In the ultimate difficulty, they have a tendency to spit out dark magic that can kill you in one hit if it actually lands. Ugh, that was not fun trying to navigate that. However, to get this rare enemy to show up, I had to first find a place that spawned the normal plant-like enemies that these were based off of, and I had, based on my research, it's either a 1 in 500 or 1 in 512 chance of this rare enemy showing up. So every single time one of these enemies spawned, there was a 1 in 500 or 1 in 512 chance of it being this rare enemy. Odds are definitely stacked against me there. And then once one of the rare enemies showed up, I had to first survive, because these guys could also kill me in one hit, which was not fun. And once I killed this rare enemy, I had a 1 in 22 chance of it dropping this katana. This was a nightmare. I don't know why I put myself through it, but I did. And over the course of about 10 years, off and on, I managed to get my hands on this Agito. It was appraised, and it was found to be the real one, which changed its name to Orochi Agito. And when I picked up this weapon, when I saw the red box drop on the ground, and bear in mind, it's not the first time these enemies have dropped a fucking red box on me, and this was the first time it was actually the weapon instead of some other worthless thing that I can't even use because I'm not playing online. I mean, not like they shut down the servers, several decades ago at this point. So, I get this weapon, and as soon as I pick it up, it's like I can't even breathe. I was just, the emotion that was welling up inside of me was like, I can't believe I finally got this. And as soon as I got it, I had to save my game and then go out to the garage in order to tell Libby, I got it. I was so excited, because she's been with me for a great many of my attempts to try and get this weapon. Now, for the one I haven't accomplished, and I'm probably going to kick myself in my own ass if I do attempt to get this weapon. There is this weapon that is called the Sealed J-Sword. This can become one of the most powerful weapons in the game. In fact, with my research, I found out that in the second version of this game, they banned it. I don't know why they did, but it's still available on the version that I have on the GameCube. In order for me to get this weapon, I would have to take my current character, the one that I created specifically to use the Orochi Agito, because he happens to be the correct section ID, but I would have to make my way through all of the ultimate difficulty in episode 1 just to prepare myself for the ultimate difficulty of episode 2 in the game. Now, when Phantasy Star first came out, it was just one episode. Then they created a second episode, and it was Brutal, we'll just say that much. You get the exact same experience. The enemies that you fight have pretty much the same health and everything, but in episode 2, they kick your ass. It is brutal how tough the second episode is. Let's just use the normal difficulty as an example. I can start the game with a brand new character, do all of the quests that are available, try and get some of the best gear that I can get in the normal difficulty, beat the final boss in episode 1 on said difficulty, and then I could go into episode 2, and within the very first area, I could get my ass handed to me in a matter of like 3 or 4 hits. I mean, it's just, oh man, the difficulty just spikes when you get to episode 2. So I would need to take this character and get through the first area of episode 2 and the second area of episode 2 on the ultimate difficulty, just to gain access to the control center, which is the third area. And then I would have to farm a mini boss that is in this area that, unlike these rare enemies, constantly shows up. However, this is the staggering number that I am working with. I would have to fight this mini boss over and over, unless I'm very lucky and it shows up on the first drop. But in order to get this weapon called the Sealed J Sword, there is a 1 in 12,604 chance of this weapon dropping. Yes. I will kick myself if I decide to go after this weapon. And as the treasure hunter that I am, it's very tempting for me to do so. And I don't know why I put myself through this nightmare. The thing, though, is even though these odds are absolutely stacked against me, that doesn't mean they're impossible. It took a lot of time, it took a lot of effort, and a lot of persistence for me to achieve my goal of getting the Orochiagito. Now, I wholly understand that when we're talking about life in general, I have a lot of privilege. I have a lot of privilege as a straight, white, cisgendered American man. And there are a lot of people that don't have the same privileges that I do. And even with my privilege, that doesn't mean that I get everything that I want and that I desire. There are some things that I have pursued, like even some jobs that I just can't gain any traction with. And I know it's even harder for so many other people. And so, while acknowledging my privilege and how there are some systems that make it even more challenging for people who are minorities, people of color, people who are less able than I am, the odds are oftentimes stacked against us. Yet that doesn't mean that it is impossible. It is still possible. We just need to keep showing up. We need to be persistent, and we need to keep trying. And kind of tying into that last statement, the second thing is that everything is not available to everyone. And this is something that helps us if we work together. As I mentioned, this whole section ID stuff, which is entirely based off of what you name your character, determines what items are dropped in the game. There is only one section ID that will drop the Sealed J Sword. There are, I think 4 out of the 10 that will drop the real Agito, and yet they all have different chances. Some of them astronomical compared to the 1 in 22 that I was able to work with. If we take a look at the premise for this game, one of the things is it encouraged people to work together. It encouraged people to make some new friends, to build parties and go on adventures with these other people that had different section IDs, and they could work together in order to get some of these rare weapons that they really wanted to get their hands on. Now, for someone like me, where I'm playing this entirely offline, it's all on me to figure out. Now, I haven't really gotten into Phantasy Star Online 2 yet. I kind of want to, but I'm just not really at that age where I have the time to devote to a massively multiplayer online video game like I used to back in high school and college. And yet, in these games, they want to foster this community. They want people to work together. And for people to work together, that means they make it so you can't get everything. If you want to get everything like I do as a treasure hunter, that means that I need to work with other people. People who have different skills, different abilities than I do. The third thing I want to talk about is how the grind is important for us to get wherever we want to go. And, oh man, it seems like these days it's even harder and harder for the grind to work. In fact, I've heard it said that my generation, being a millennial, we are the first generation where we have seen capitalism not work, where we are seeing so much fortune being hoarded by such a small group of people, and everyone else is just given scraps. It's not working. And yet, in order for me to survive in this society, requires me to put in the time and the effort to do what needs to be done. That means showing up for this podcast. That means trying to get new clients. That means talking with people as I am out and about and share about my interests in the work that I'm doing. That means Libby showing up to put in her time with her business partner. Whatever it is. And I have been in that position where I'm going to school full time and I'm working 2 part-time jobs, and the grind is real. And it does help us get where we want to be. Again, coming from my place of privilege. If you're wondering why I keep bringing that up, just go back to the last topic where I was talking about this. Yet, one of the things with this game is you do have to do some grinding. You have to redo areas. You have to redo quests over and over again sometimes. Not just to get some of these rare drops that you're looking for, but to gain the experience. For your character to grow stronger so that they can survive better. And this is, in gaming terms, this is called grinding. Or farming. I guess it goes either way, grinding or farming. And especially in role-playing games, it seems the grind is super important to get where you want to go. Now, sometimes if it's a game like the Soulsborne games, you can just get good. You can get the right loadout. You can learn the mechanics and what frames to do a roll on to dodge this attack from this enemy. But for a game like Phantasy Star, there is no such luck. You just need to get yourself stronger. Because the higher your character level, the better equipment you can use. The higher your attack, the higher your mental acuity, the higher your accuracy, the better weapons you have available to you. In order to get these things, we do need to grind. And as I was sharing about the difference between episode 1 and episode 2, sometimes you can grind in one episode just to have to turn around and grind in the next one, because that's just how the game works sometimes. Kind of makes me wonder, or I guess not really so much wonder, as it just kind of sheds a light on why there are so many people who are just trying to make it to retirement is because they're just having to grind so much that it's like they can't even enjoy life in the moment, that they're just trying to make it until retirement to where they can finally enjoy life. Now, I can say, that's not the kind of life I want to have. And, oh, that's kind of the life I'm stuck in right now. The grind is real, and if we want to get somewhere, then we are going to have to do some grinding. The fourth thing is that we don't have to be trailblazers. In this game, when you're playing through the main story anyways, is in episode 1, you are walking around taking on some dangerous monsters, and you keep finding capsules that have messages that were left behind by a specific character named Rico Tyrell, also known as Red Ring Rico. And she was a hero on Pioneer 1, the ship that first came to the planet in order to start colonizing and get things set up so that more refugees and I guess refugees is really the best word for it, were able to come on Pioneer 2. That is the ship that the character you create is a part of. It's Pioneer 2. Well, something happened, and you don't find anyone from Pioneer 1. And the only thing that you're finding are these messages that were left behind by Red Ring Rico. And some of the things that she shares are just kind of tactical information on what some enemies do, kind of points out the ones that have this webbing trap that can hold you in place, or these ones that can split, or these ones that play dead, or that there's these stronger varieties of certain ones. She gives you some very important tactical information, and she also gives you some of her story. And as you are going through the game, you see these messages all over. When you're in the forest, when you get into the mines, eventually you make it into, the caves, the forest, the caves, the mines, and then leading to the ruins. You find messages from Rico every step of the way. And you can follow her advice because she already blazed the trail. We don't have to come up with something brand new in order to get where we want to go. It's one of the things that I do a lot with my coaching is my focus is on reaching back to other people in order to give them a hand and bring them on a path that I have followed in order to help them from stumbling over so many things that I have stumbled along the way. And I have had people who are trailblazers who have helped me get where I am today. If I was able to do all of this on my own, then, for one thing, what would be the point of having a community? What would be the point of having friends? What would be the point of having my relationship with Libby? What would be the point of my family? It's helped me to rely on people. And there are a lot of people who have gone before us, and we can learn so much from these people. We don't have to be trailblazers. If you are a trailblazer, great. You can blaze the trail for someone else. Just make sure that you are reaching that hand back in an effort to help others make it along the trail that you are establishing. And if there is someone who is blazing a trail ahead of you, there is no shame in coming up behind them and saying, hey, can I have a hand, please? This is tough. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about today, just like all of these others, I have 10 things and I'm only getting through 5 right now, is that even if someone went before us, we still have to walk the trail. Using the example of Rico Tyrell, she left all of those messages behind. She warns of dangers that are coming ahead. And what good would that be if the character that I created was like, well, nothing I can do here, just return to Pioneer 2 and sit around twiddling my thumbs, just live out a meager existence and let someone else do it. Even if someone has gone before us, it's still important for us to walk the trail. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for some very influential friends like Mike Chapman, who I interviewed for the first time on a hero study, my friend Drew Boa, my friends who have been with me on my recovery journey. If it wasn't for Libby walking alongside me, I would not be where I am today if I did not walk the trail that was ahead of me. Whether it was brand new, whether it was something that someone had already walked before, when the trail is presented to me, I still need to put one foot in front of the other and walk the trail myself. I still need to experience the hardships. I need to experience the trials. And it is worth it. It is worth the effort to get ourselves out of where we are, where we know what the results are going to be if we stay in the place that we are. Whether it's an abusive relationship, if in my case it was a domineering and stifling religion, if it's a job, if you're trying to find a new job, or you could thrive in a much better job, but you're just, this one at least pays the bills, we know what to expect. And we oftentimes get stuck in our comfort zone. Bear in mind, comfort is not always a good thing, because you can be comfortable with someone who is abusive. You can be comfortable in a job where you are being demeaned, where you are being mistreated. These things are what we know, therefore they are comfortable. And trying to get out of our comfort zone to experience something different, even if the prospect of this change is that it's ultimately going to be good, doesn't mean that that's going to be enough to keep us going, because change is scary. And that is why I find it valuable to find those people who have already put in a lot of this hard, challenging work. Find those trailblazers. But even if you find them, it is still your responsibility to walk the path that is ahead of you. It's the only way you're going to make it from point A to point B, is if you put in the effort and you walk the path. I hope that you have found this dive into one of my favorite video games inspiring. And we have more that we're going to discuss about this in the future. And I also just want to say thank you, because I definitely needed this time to just kind of nerd out about something. It was much easier to talk about today. And I just want to remind you that you are worth taking care of. Your needs and your desires, they're worthwhile. So keep showing up, keep doing what you can. My friend, please take care of yourself. These are some very difficult times that we find ourselves in. And we'll talk again next week. And until then, live strong for today.